been such a long time. I have not neglected you, I promise. Pinky promise. The thing is, I have had so much on my mind right now, like lately. I stopped my internship in a kindergarten, which was kind of sad. So I had like an exam leading up to that, and then a couple days later I had to say goodbye to the kids and the staff, and it was kind of mentally hard. And then I've been job searching, so I'm moving out, by the way. I'm getting my own apartment, and I had to go job searching in the city that I'm moving to, so I've been doing that. And right now I am realizing I look like a child because I'm not wearing my lashes, but it's fine. So I thought, I can't sleep anyways. It's like 2 a.m. Why not film an ASMR video with things that I got today? So at my university college, we have this thing. It's like a room, essentially, where you can go in, and then there's like a shelf system with like a ton of books. And essentially, if you have a book that you don't use anymore, you can put it in there, and then someone else can take it and bring it home. So it's essentially to get free books and give books to others. So I found some books. First, I will show you the two that I got, but I won't be reading from. Does that make sense? Okay. This is the first book. It is called Your Mind. No, it's not your mind, it's your memory. A user's guide. I will quickly just read what it says on the back. Does your lack of recall hinder you in negotiations or an argument? Yes. Sorry. Does it cause you embarrassment when you can't remember people's names or birthdays? Certainly. Written by one of the world's leading experts in the human memory, this fascinating and accessible guide clearly explains how your memory works and how to make it work for you. Fully updated and with brand new illustrations throughout, Your Memory is full of astounding information and practical exercises, as well as useful advice on improving the quality and capacity of your memory. I'm sorry, English is not my first language, so if I do mess up, please tell me in the comments. Combining anecdotes and exercises with scientific developments and statistics, Alan Batley, I don't know how to say his last name, presents this complex topic in a highly accessible way. He asks why a natural system of classifying, storing, and retrieving information that exceeds the capacity of the best computer in flexibility and speed can at times be so limited and unreliable. Why, for example, can't we remember a telephone number long enough to dial it? This new illustrated edition of a seminal work tackles all the fundamental questions about memory and provides answers of interest to both the science buff and the person who always seems to forget that all-important anniversary. So, this is a psychology book about our memories. I thought you would like some gripping sounds before we move on. kind of big pictures in there. I like that. Anyways, next book. Now this is just because I like the movies, okay? There's this book, The Kill Order. This is the prequel to the Maze Runner series, and I've always wanted to read them instead of like just watching the movies. So, and it's in English, so that's what I really like. So let me read what the back says. They thought the end came in a flash, before Wicked was formed, before the Clade was built, before Thomas entered the maze. Sun flares hit the earth, killing most of the population. The worst is yet to come. Mark and Trina were there when it happened. They survived, but now a virus is spreading. A virus that fills humans with murderous rage. There is no cure, no escape. They're convinced that there's a way to save those who are left, if they can stay alive. Because in this new devastated world, every life has a price, and to some, you're worth more dead than alive. The end is only the beginning. I also like this because it makes really good, like, creepy sounds. Because it's kind of creepy. It has like a matte finish right here, and then this is like glossy. I don't know if you can tell. I don't know. No, you can't really tell, but it's fine. Let's see what this sounds like. This one's kind of softer paper. Kind of like that. And then there's the last book, and it is this one. It's called Counting Sheep. The Science and Pleasures of Sleep and Dreams by Paul Martin. I thought it would be fun to read like a chapter from this in an ASMR video, because ASMR is meant for relaxation and sleep, so I thought it would be kind of fun to read some from this book. Let me just read the back first. Oh, wait, never mind. These are just like ratings of the book, so let's just start. Okay. The first chapter is called Preliminaries. So let's find the first chapter. Part 1, Preliminaries. Okay. 1. A third of life. Man consumes more than 1/3 of his life in this, his irrational situation. This is by Erasmus Darwin, Sunomia, 1801. Sleep, a state so familiar yet so strange. It is the single most common form of human behavior and you will spend a third of your time doing it, 25 years or more, all being well. When you die, a bigger slice of your existence will have passed in that state. Hold on. When you die, a bigger slice of your existence will have passed in that state than in making love, raising children, eating, playing games, listening to music, or any of those other activities that humanity values so highly. Sleep is a form of behavior, just as eating or socializing or fighting or copulating are forms of behavior, even if it is not the most gripping to observe. Most of the action goes on inside the brain. It is also a uniquely private experience, even when sharing a bed. When we are awake, we all inhabit a common world, but when we sleep, each of us occupies a world of our own. Most of us, however, have precious little awareness of what we experience in that state. Our memory of sleeping and dreaming mostly evaporate when we awake, erasing the record every morning. Many of us do not get enough sleep, and we suffer the consequences, often without realizing what we are doing to ourselves. The demands of the 24-hour society are marginalizing sleep, yet it is not an optional activity. Nature imposes it upon us. We can survive for longer without food. When our sleep falls short in quantity or quality, we pay a heavy price in depressed mood, impaired performance, damaged social relationships, and poorer health. But we usually blame something else. Sleep is an active state generated within the brain, not a mere absence of consciousness. We are psychologically capable of sleeping with your eyelids held open by sticking plaster, bright lights flashing in your eyes, and loud music playing on your ears. We shall later see how science has revealed the ferment of electrical and chemical activity that goes on inside the brain during sleep. And how the sleeping brain operates in a quite different mode from waking consciousness. We shall see how lack of sleep erodes our quality of life and performance, while simultaneously making us more vulnerable to injuries and illness. Science amply supports William Shakespeare's view that sleep is the chief nourisher in life's feast. Did I say sheep or sleep? I meant sleep. What is sleep and what is it for? Why do so many people have such problems with it? Why do we dream? Although sleep forms a central strand of human and animal life, it is still poorly understood and widely neglected. It is an inglorious example of familiarity, that's the one, breeding contempt. Sleep is so much a part of our everyday existence that we take it for granted. We are ignorant even of our inner ignorance. In 1758, they had a chance to make it 1738. 1738. I'm like, it was below. Anyways, Dr. Samuel Johnson summed it up like this. Among the innumerable mortifications that waylay human arrogance on every side may well be reckoned our ignorance of the most common objects and effects. Vulgar and inactive minds confound familiarity with knowledge and conceive themselves informed of the whole nature of things when they are shown their form or told their use. Sleep is a state in which a great part of every life is passed. No animal has been yet discovered whose existence is not varied with intervals of insensibility. Not insensibility, insensibility. Thank you. Yet of this change, so frequent, so great, so general, and so necessary, no searcher has yet found either the efficient or final cause, or can tell why that power of or can tell by what power the mind and body are thus chained down in irresistible stupefaction. Or what benefits the animal receives from this alternate suspension of his active powers. I can tell that I'm not very good at reading right now. It's okay though. The scientists who do know something about sleep often bemoan society's ignorance of it. They point to the vast gap between current scientific understanding of sleep, patchy though it is, and the practical benefits it could bring is that, oh my god, if that knowledge were absorbed and acted upon by society, there's a lot of light. Our collective indifference towards sleep has enormous and largely avoidable costs. I have to remember to breathe. I'm gonna put it over here so I can see it better. Maybe I should bring you over here somewhere in the middle. That's better. A sleep society. There we go. A sleep-sick society. The mere presence of an alarm clock implies sleep deprivation, and what bedroom lacks an alarm clock? James Clegg, Faster, 1999. All is not well with the state of sleep. Many of us depend on an alarm clock to rise us out of bed each morning, and children's bedrooms increasingly resemble places of entertainment rather than places of sleep. When given the opportunity, we sleep in at the weekends and feel only half awake when we do get up. On that long-awaited holiday, we find the change of scenery, or is it the air, makes us even sleepier. We're told that lying around and sleeping too much will only make us sleepier, but in truth, we feel sleepy at weekends and on holidays, not because we are sleeping too much, but because we've slept too little the rest of the time. A century ago, the majority toiled long hours, while the affluent few idled away their time. Today, however, the more conventionally successful you are, the less free time you will probably have. Having nothing to do is seen as a sign of worthlessness, while ceaseless activity signifies status and success. Supposedly unproductive activities are deprioritized or delegated, and according to prevailing cultural attitudes, sleeping is one of the least productive of all human activities. More worthwhile, perhaps, than sitting around picking your nose, but not much. In their ceaseless pursuit of work and pleasure, the cash-rich buy time from others, hiring them to clean their houses, look after their children, and cook their food. But one of the activities you simply cannot delegate to anyone else is sleeping. Evolution equipped humans, in common with all other animals, with biological mechanisms to make us sleep at roughly the same time every day. However, those mechanisms evolved to cope with a pre-industrial world that was vastly different from the one we now inhabit. Our daily cycles of sleep and activity are no longer driven by dawn and dusk, but by clocks, electric lighting, and work schedules. Sleep has become increasingly devalued in the 24-hour society. Many regard sleep as wasted time and would prefer to sacrifice less of their busy lives to it. We live in a world where there are too many tired, sleep-deprived people. Think of those pinched, yawning faces you can see every day on the trains and the buses and the cars crawling through jams. They look as if they've been brainwashed, but they're just tired. We pay a steep price for neglecting people in ignorance and indifference. The scientific evidence tells us that far too many people in industrialized societies are chronically sleep deprived, with damaging consequences for their mental and physical health, performance at work, quality of life, and personal relationships. William Dement, a pioneering scientist in the field, believes that we now live in a sleep-sick society. Scientists have not yet reached a consensus about the precise extent of sleep deprivation in society, but they do all agree that sleepiness is a major cause of accidents and injuries. In fact, sleepiness is responsible for far more deaths of the road than alcohol and drugs. Everyone has heard about the need for a balanced diet and physical exercise, even if many of us fail to follow the advice. But sleep is lost in a deep well of ignorance and apathy. Even the medical profession pays it scant regard. Sleep and its disorder barely feature in the teaching of medicine, and few physicians are fully equipped to deal with the sleep problems they regularly encounter. When researchers from Oxford University investigated British medical education in the late 1990s, they discovered that the average amount of time devoted to sleep and sleep disorders in undergraduate teaching was 5 minutes, rising to a princely peak of 15 minutes in preclinical training. Your doctor is therefore unlikely to be an expert on the subject. The general public and the medical profession are not the only ones to display a remarkable indifference to sleep. So, to do most contemporary writers. So too do most contemporary writers. There we go. Considering that sleep accounts for a third of human existence, it features remarkably rarely in novels, biographies, social histories, or learned texts on neurobiology, psychology, and medicine. And the few accounts that have made it into print are mostly concerned with what happens when it goes wrong. Insomnia and nightmares loom large in the tiny literature Sleep. Few biographies mention the sleep behavior or dreams of their subjects. That part of their story is almost invariably missing, as if somehow we all cease to exist at night. And most of those scholarly books that set out to explain how the human mind works say little or nothing about what goes on during the several hours of every day when the mind is sleeping and dreaming. They're really just books about how the brain works when it is awake, or a neglect of sleep is underlined by its absence from our literature. Vladimir Nabokov once said that all the great writers have good eyes. What has happened to the eyes of writers as far as sleep and dreams are concerned? We're not always so. It was not always so. Older literature is distinctly richer in references to sleeping and dreaming, perhaps because darkness and sleep and dreams were much more prominent aspects of the everyday life before the invention of the electric light bulb and the advent of the 24-hour society. Shakespeare's works are thick with allusions to sleep and dreams, and as are Dickens. We shall encounter some of them later. Meanwhile, to set the right tone, here is Sancho Panza's eulogy, not eulogy to sleep from Don Quixote. God bless the inventor of sleep, the cloak that covers all man's thoughts, the food that cures all hunger, the water that quenches all thirst, the fire that warms the cold that cools the heat, the common coin, in short,